I'm not someone who gives spoiler warnings. I like to think of people as adults, and if you want to watch a video discussing something that you haven't seen, that's your prerogative, and you can do what you want. So I'm not going to give a spoiler warning, but I will give a recommendation. Watch 1917. It's still playing, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You owe it to yourself to see this. It's a masterpiece. It's intense, it's beautiful, it makes you think, but the reason it sticks out in my mind is it makes you feel. At the end of the movie, Lance Corporal Schofield makes one final desperate play to deliver the message in which he foolhardily sprints across the battlefield to deliver his message. And this moment worked. It had my heart going, I was riled up. It's the moment that built my excitement almost as much as the portal scene in Endgame, and that was without 21 films prior. But when I think back on this movie, the characters weren't especially fleshed out. I found them vague, somewhat uninteresting, temperamental, unrealistic, and midway through I thought I wasn't going to love the movie, and yet, by the end, I was fully on board and rooting for Schofield to fulfill the mission. There are a million reasons that this movie and this scene in particular worked. All of these moments slowly came together to create a masterful scene, never letting you know just how invested you had gotten. There are dozens of simple storytelling tricks that will be tossed around which explain the fundamentals of making film. The most applicable trick in this movie is simple. If you want to show character growth, make your protagonist do something that he would not do in the beginning. Schofield didn't want to be on the mission. He was annoyed with Blake that he even had to go. He had no stake in the mission and desperately wanted out. For a time he seemed selfish, kept wanting to turn back. He was dragging his feet and started off as the obstacle to both Blake and the viewer. By the end, after witnessing his friend's death, he believed so strongly in the mission to save his brother, and then being reminded what he was fighting for and finally embracing his mission, he took the necessary steps to be the hero he never would have done in the beginning. While following these guidelines, it's not enough to make this moment work in isolation. This movie needed the constant suspense. The audience needed to see Schofield went through everything just to get there, and by the time he made his dash across the battlefield, we needed to believe he was invincible. This was just another obstacle, and he was going to be the hero, and he was going to persevere. This was nothing. He had an army to save. He had a mission to complete. This moment also works because of the score. Composer Thomas Newman brought this movie to another level, injecting emotion, inspiration, happiness, and sadness into the story. This movie felt grounded, cut to look like a movie comprised of only 2 takes. Being side by side with these characters made every moment feel difficult but earned. It made you feel like you were right by their side. And finally, the ribbon. Schofield is dismissive of the ribbon from the very first scene, joking to Blake about how maybe he'll finally get his own Ribbon of Honor. We later learn that Schofield sold his own ribbon for a drink. This isn't because he's proud, it's because he knows it's not enough for his family back home. He even mentions that a ribbon means nothing to a weeping spouse long before we even know that he's married. It's not that he doesn't want the ribbon, it's that he needs to get home. He can't let the consolation be an option. He has to come home. This entire mission is a roadblock in his plan. It's dangerous and it's pulling him away from his goal. In revealing this, it justifies Schofield's obstinate behavior from the onset. We first see everything from Blake's perspective, as a need to help his brother, but in doing so, Schofield might be hurting his own family. These two seemingly disjointed story arcs take a standard character into a haunted, beautiful character you can't help but root for. Even when he meets the Frenchwoman, he knows there's still work to do. The same scenario plays out again, in which he has to leave a family he'd rather stay by, but he knows that duty calls and that he isn't free yet. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone who sees this gets a chance to watch 1917. I wish I could talk for hours about it, but as busy as I am, I just needed to say something about it. I am so enamored by this movie. Also, just as a side note, I swear, there is a commercial running where Blake was the one that ran across the battlefield. I can't find it again, but I swear I saw it. And that's a moment I was expecting watching the entire movie. Now, having that expectation just made everything that much more meaningful and delightful. Even after Blake died, I expected that it would just be his brother, after he said they looked just alike, so when I saw it was Schofield that was the hero, I was completely blown away. You owe it to yourself to see 1917.